There are whispers that come like storms, loud, obvious, easy to fight. And then there are whispers that arrive like a breeze, soft, almost unnoticed, slipping between thoughts when the heart is quiet. These are the whispers that do the most damage. They don't tell you to steal or lie or harm. They ask questions, subtle ones, thoughtful ones. Questions that begin in curiosity, but, if followed, lead down a dark path. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss these powerful reminders drawn from the Qur'an, authentic Hadith, and classical scholarship. And tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love seeing hearts from across the globe join these journeys. God warns us in the Qur'an. Indeed, He sees you, He and His tribe, from where you do not see them. Satan is close, not with chains, but with whispers. He knows how to step quietly into your thoughts. Imagine someone sitting alone, reflecting on the stars, the ocean, the trees, the complexity of life. Their heart fills with wonder at the perfection of creation. Then, suddenly, a question drifts through the mind. Who created this? Who created that? It seems harmless, maybe even innocent. But the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, described exactly this scenario. He said that Satan comes to a person and whispers, "Who created this? Who created that?" Until he finally whispers, "Who created Allah?" This narration is in both Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. It is one of the most dangerous questions because it's not a real inquiry, it's a trap. A person may feel shocked the moment it crosses their mind. Why did I think that? They might feel guilty, frightened, or even doubt their own faith. But here's the key: the Prophet himself told us this would happen. These whispers are not new. They are ancient, repeated in every generation. Classical scholars explain that Satan uses this method precisely because he cannot uproot faith by force. He cannot touch your heart directly. So he plants a seed of confusion and waits for you to water it with panic. He starts with creation, building a chain of questions step by step, until he throws out one designed not to be answered, but to disturb. And when that question lands, it feels heavy. For some, it comes late at night, when their mind is wandering. For others, during moments of deep reflection. It can even happen to people who are strong in their faith. Companions of the Prophet reported similar thoughts. This is why the scholars said that experiencing these whispers does not make your faith weak. In fact, it often means your faith is strong enough to be worth attacking. Satan doesn't waste his sharpest arrows on a heart that has already surrendered to him. He aims them at the hearts that are trying to stay firm. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote that Satan's whispers in matters of belief are among his most subtle tricks. He does not appear with denial. He approaches with questions. Ibn al-Qayyim explained that these whispers are like a door slightly open. If the believer ignores it, the wind dies down. But if they stand and stare at the door, questioning why it's moving, the wind becomes a storm. This is why the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, didn't just warn us. He gave us the exact answer. He said, "When this happens to one of you, let him seek refuge in Allah and stop thinking about it." He didn't tell us to debate with the thought. He didn't tell us to panic. He told us to close the door. This is crucial. The dangerous question itself is not sinful. The sin is only if a person entertains it, lets it grow, and allows Satan to build his web. The Prophet's guidance is direct and brilliant. Seek protection. Stop engaging. Move your mind away. This is how the companions dealt with it. They did not see these thoughts as proof of weakness. They saw them as whispers to be shut down. So next time it happens, remember, you're not strange. You're not broken. You're not faithless. You are in a moment that the Prophet foretold. and you've been given the weapon to win. But the story does not end here. In the next part, we will follow how Satan uses this question to build layers of doubt, how scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim dismantled it, and why the Prophet's simple answer is far more powerful than any philosophical argument. The dangerous question doesn't arrive like a shout. It arrives like a whisper that lingers. For some, it shows up just once, like a passing shadow. For others, it circles back again and again, especially during quiet moments. Satan understands human thought. He doesn't need to overthrow faith in one strike. He just needs to keep the door slightly open and let the wind of doubt keep blowing. Scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah explained that Satan rarely begins his attack with outright denial. He begins with curiosity. He plants a seed of wonder, not to inspire worship, but to redirect the gaze from the Creator to endless speculation. He says, "Who created this?" The believer reflects and answers, Allah created it. He asks again, "And who created that?" The believer responds again. Then slowly the rhythm builds. Question after question, like footsteps down a hallway. And at the end of that hallway, he plants a single question not meant to be answered, but meant to cause unease. Who created Allah? It's not a genuine inquiry. It's a trap built on the human mind's natural tendency to look for causes. Everything around us has a beginning, so the mind becomes accustomed to asking, what came before this? Satan takes that tendency and aims it upward, knowing full well that the Creator is not like his creation. The scholars called this a corrupted question, because it assumes the Creator fits into the same chain of caused things as everything else. It's like asking, what does blue taste like? Or, what color is the sound of a bell? The question itself is flawed. Ibn al-Qayyim explained that Satan's tactic here is psychological more than theological. He wants the believer to be startled by the question, to think, why am I even thinking this? And then spiral into panic. Once panic sets in, faith begins to feel shaky. Not because the belief has changed, but because the believer mistakes the whisper for a personal failing. Satan then steps back and lets the believer do the rest of the damage, whispering, "See, you doubted. Maybe your faith isn't real." This is why understanding this trick is so important. Even the companions of the Prophet experienced these thoughts. Some came to him and said, "O Messenger of Allah, we find in ourselves thoughts that are too terrible to speak of." And he asked, "Do you really feel this?" They replied, "Yes." And he said, "That is clear faith." Why? Because feeling disturbed by such whispers shows that the heart rejects them. It shows that the whisper is foreign, not native to the soul. Satan attacks those whose hearts still guard their belief. Ibn Taymiyyah noted that these kinds of whispers often target people who are sincere in their faith, precisely because their belief is strong enough to resist open misguidance. Satan looks for a more subtle way in. He does not bring disbelief on a platter. He brings questions dressed as deep thinking. He tries to confuse intellect with doubt. Many people think the solution is to answer the question with complex arguments. But notice the Prophet's guidance. When this happens, seek refuge in Allah and stop thinking about it. He did not say, engage in a long debate with the whisper. Why? Because these whispers are not genuine questions. They are designed to keep the mind running in circles. You cannot win a race that has no finish line. And Nawawi, the famous commentator on Sahih Muslim, explained that the Prophet's advice is twofold. First, to seek protection through remembrance of Allah, which weakens the whisper itself, and second, to cut off the line of thought, not allowing it to expand. He said this method closes the door through which Satan enters. Ibn al-Qayyim compared it to shutting a door, before a storm has time to fill the room. People sometimes fear these whispers because they mistake them for their own voice. But the prophet separated the believer from the whisper. He made it clear this is Satan's tactic, not your own doubt. Knowing this brings relief. When a thought like that comes, you can say to yourself, "This is exactly what the prophet described. I know what to do." You seek refuge. You stop the thought. You move on. This doesn't mean the whisper will never return. For some people, especially those who think deeply, it might return many times. But every time you follow the prophetic guidance, you defeat it. Ibn Taymiyyah said that Satan eventually gets tired of attacking a fortress he cannot breach. When the believer consistently refuses to entertain the question, the whisper loses its power. There is another layer to this tactic. Sometimes Satan plants this question not to make you disbelieve, but to make you feel guilty for having the thought. He whispers. If you were a true believer, you wouldn't think this. And that guilt can become heavier than the question itself. It can make a person avoid prayer, avoid remembrance, avoid seeking knowledge out of shame. But this, too, is part of the trick. The prophet's response is filled with mercy. The presence of the whisper does not harm your faith. What harms is believing that the whisper is yours and surrendering to the guilt. Classical scholars emphasized that understanding God's uniqueness is the key to dismantling this whisper. Everything in creation has a beginning and depends on something else. But the Creator is not part of that chain. He is the one who begins and has no beginning. To ask who created Allah is to misunderstand who Allah is. It's like confusing the author of a book with a character inside it. The author exists before the story begins, outside the pages. The story doesn't create the author creates the story. This is why the prophet's instruction is so profound. He didn't arm the companions with complicated philosophical tools. He gave them something more powerful: certainty and clarity. Seek refuge. Stop. Turn back to remembrance. End the spiral before it begins. So when that dangerous question echoes in your mind, don't panic. Recognize it. Name it for what it is: a whisper, not a belief. Don't debate it. Don't feed it. Do exactly what the prophet said. Seek refuge in the one who created you, the one who knows what Satan whispers into the hearts of people. Close the door. And when you do, remember, every time you reject that whisper, you've won a silent battle. You've proven that faith isn't the absence of these moments. It's the ability to meet them with clarity and trust. But the story doesn't end here. In the final part, we'll explore how to build a heart so firm that these whispers lose their hold completely. We'll look at how the companions and scholars responded, how logic itself collapses under the weight of this false question, and how to transform these moments from panic into worship. There comes a point when a whisper loses its power, not because it disappears, but because the heart learns how to meet it with clarity. Satan's tactic is ancient and predictable, but the believer's defense is timeless. It's not about complicated arguments. It's about certainty, remembrance, and a heart trained to recognize when the enemy is near. The prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, gave a simple, direct command when the dangerous question arises: seek refuge in Allah and stop thinking about it. Those two steps may seem small, but they are deeply profound. Seeking refuge is not just saying words. It's shifting your heart from wrestling with the whisper to standing under the protection of the one who created you. And stopping the thought is like closing a door before a storm pushes through. The companions understood this. They did not panic when these whispers came. Some of them even confessed to the prophet that they experienced thoughts so intense they felt ashamed to speak of them. He didn't scold them. he said, that is clear faith. Their discomfort wasn't a sign of weak belief. It was proof that their hearts rejected the whisper. Satan cannot plant roots in soil that refuses him. The scholars explained that these whispers attack where faith lies, not where it's absent. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote that a whisper about God's existence is often aimed at those whose belief is solid. It's like an enemy choosing the strongest wall to attack. Ibn al-Qayyim said that the heart that knows its Lord doesn't fear the whisper. It identifies it and dismisses it like smoke drifting through an open window. It doesn't chase the smoke, it lets it pass. Understanding why the dangerous question is flawed helps close that door permanently. The question, who created Allah, assumes that the Creator belongs to the same category as creation, a category where everything has a cause. But God is not part of that chain. He is the one who began the chain. He has no beginning and no end. He is not created. He is the Creator. So the question is self-contradictory. It's like asking, what's north of the North Pole? Or, who wrote the author? It collapses under its own weight. This is why classical scholars often compared such whispers to asking nonsense questions. Ibn Taymiyyah said, this question arises only because the one asking it has misunderstood the Creator. The mind that asks it has treated him as a created being. Once the believer realizes this, the whisper stops sounding profound and starts sounding hollow. It loses its ability to frighten. The Prophet's answer is not just spiritual, it's also psychologically brilliant. Engaging with endless hypothetical questions gives them life. Stopping them takes away their oxygen. Seeking refuge interrupts the whisper at its root. Over time, this practice builds a kind of spiritual reflex. The question comes. The believer recognizes it, seeks refuge, and moves on. It doesn't grow. It doesn't linger. And Nawawi explained that part of stopping the thought means replacing it with remembrance, prayer, or useful knowledge. A heart busy with light has no space for whispers to echo. When remembrance becomes a habit, the whisper doesn't stand a chance. Real stories show this clearly. A young man once confessed to a scholar that these whispers haunted him at night. The scholar smiled and said, "Congratulations. That means your heart is alive." He then taught him to recite verses of remembrance whenever the thought appeared. Weeks later, the young man returned. "They still come," he said, "but now they pass like waves. I don't fear them anymore." That's the power of recognition. Faith doesn't mean never having these thoughts. It means knowing exactly what to do when they come. Just as a soldier trains for a battle he knows is inevitable, the believer trains the heart to respond with strength, not panic. Each time you recognize the whisper and refuse to entertain it, you're not failing, you're winning. You're doing exactly what the Prophet instructed. There's another layer here that turns this entire experience into an act of worship. When you respond to the whisper the way the Prophet taught, you're not just defending yourself, you're obeying the messenger. That obedience itself is rewarded. What began as a whisper meant to harm your faith becomes an opportunity to strengthen it. The enemy loses twice, first when you reject his question, and again when you turn it into worship. The companions didn't spend their lives running from these whispers. They learned to see them for what they were, passing attacks. They focused instead on building hearts filled with remembrance, tongues that spoke truth, and minds that recognized the difference between a question that seeks truth and a question that seeks to destroy it. This is why scholars often said, whispers are like thieves. They prefer empty houses. If the heart is filled with light, remembrance, knowledge, and trust, the whisper finds no place to settle. It knocks, but no one answers. Over time, it moves on, So when this dangerous question comes, and it will come, remember it is not new. It visited hearts before yours, even the hearts of the strongest believers. It is not a sign of your weakness. It is a test, and the messenger has already handed you the answer. Seek refuge. Stop the thought. Remember who your Creator is. Let the whisper pass. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is this: Satan's question has a limit. He can only whisper. He cannot change reality. He cannot alter the nature of God. He cannot touch a heart that takes refuge in its Lord. His question is finite, but your Lord is infinite. The dangerous question may sound deep, but its defeat is simple. And that simplicity is part of the mercy of God. He does not leave you defenseless. He gives you clarity, protection, and guidance in the exact moment you need it most. So the next time that whisper drifts in, do not panic. Smile inwardly, knowing the prophet told you this would happen. Close the door. Seek refuge. Move on. Your faith is not shaken by the presence of whispers. It is proven by how you respond to them.